I don't know. I don't know. I'm just joking, teacher.
There we go. So how was your week, Jesse? Tell me.
Was good. With a lot of work. I'm not taking class. No, because making another work art crafts works that I do, and was a busy life. Busy week.
It's a busy life too. It's a really big busy life too, of course. All right. Yeah, my week was also very busy, and my life too. Good. Okay, hello, Gabby.
Hi, it's a pleasure, a great pleasure to see you.
Me too. So for me, it's also a great pleasure. I'm sorry, I didn't know you had two cell phones, so I was kind of, who is she?
No problem. I understand, teacher.
Thank you.
I do a lot because last 2 Saturdays I need to work. That's right. I'm not in the class.
That's okay. You're on vacations now, right?
Yes, of course.
Very nice, very nice. Okay, cool. Let's share my screen. I'm waiting for the rest to turn the cameras on, pero ya sé que no se bañaron y están todos greñudos y por eso no
Funny, that is very funny. That's very funny.
Sí, no, te platicara, Eduardo. Híjole, no. No te creas. Y mira, y no la aprenden. El que cayó otorga.
¿Sí me escucho?
Yes.
Sí, no, I'm not in my house, so that's the reason because I don't turn on my camera. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Where are you, man?
Your excuse. Carla, sí, ya pusiste tu cámara. Very good. Okay, good. All righty. So, today's class, I'm sorry I was late. Today's class is about examinations. And it's an important class, but it's also a very interesting one because you can see it we are used to see it from the student's viewpoint, right? And now we're going to see it from teacher's viewpoint, which is two whole different things and two different viewpoints to study about. By the way, this is Eduardo. Eduardo is a good friend of mine from many years ago.
Thank you for that.
Long story with him.
Please, sorry for interrupting you. Please don't tell nothing about Roque.
Yeah, I know. That was we have a story there that is in the dark. Very bad. Anyways, but yes, many years but he wants to take the TKT, and so he's in the group. Okay, welcome, Eduardo. This is Jesse, Carla.
Nice meeting you.
Gaby, y los que no se bañaron es Isaac y Josué. Okay. So many tests, so little time. I have here some of the most common brands of examinations for English or English examinations. We have the Cambridge, obviously, is #1 exams as far as prestige per se, or recognition. And then we have TOEFL, and then we have TOEIC. TOEIC is about to disappear for, I don't know why, but it's about to disappear. But these are the most common that we have. Have you heard some of these exams? Have you seen some of it? Have you taken some of these exams? Yes, which one have you taken? Yes, yeah.
My first exam that I took was TOEFL.
TOEFL?
That's the only one. And now,
TKT.
yes.
Good.
Now,
Excellent.
and we can take it.
There again. Yeah, TOEFL is actually the easiest, you know. The Cambridge ones are quite difficult. But anyway, so we all seen these brands, right? All see these brands and these exams. Okay, so what are they imply for us and for the students? We're going to discuss that today. So introduction. Can you read this, Carla, and tell me if you agree as far as a student viewpoint, because I know you just recently were a student.
Yes. In the classroom, there is only one word that makes the student go crazy: test. And
Do
yes,
you agree?
yes, I agree.
Si yo no manches, hoy toca el examen y ya te dio gastritis, diarrea, o al revés, te tapaste, and so forth. So, but you have to go, but you have to take the test. So it's true. It happens, right? Now, this is Carla, a couple of months ago, from her last examination now. So, however, continue reading, Carla.
However, they cannot be avoided completely, for they are inevitable elements of learning process. How so? They are included into curriculum. They check the student's level of knowledge. Students should face them in order to enter any foreign university or reveal the level of their English language skills for themselves.
Very good. So, even though they go crazy, they are inevitable. In other words, you cannot avoid it. They're in the curriculum. That means that they're in the program. You check the student's level, and students need to know if they are progressing or not. And then we have some of the most common brands: PET, KET, TOEIC, TOEFL. Ahí me equivoqué. CFC, perdón. Anyways, so the point in this class is this: why is testing important? We're going to read some of the gurus and teaching, some of the authors, and see his or her opinion. Jesse, can you read number one about hikes?
Hikes considers that testing is a means to show both the students and the teacher how much the learners have learned during a course.
Very good. So it's an indicator, right? According to hikes, it's an indicator. What about Heaton, Gabby?
Thanks, teacher. State tests could be used to display the strengths and weaknesses of the teaching process and help the teacher improve it.
Ah, very good. So now it has changed a little bit. It says that it's an indicator of the strengths and weakness of the learning process. Therefore, the teaching techniques of the teacher. It's not just for the students. Now it says, Heaton, that yes, it helps the student, but now it's for teachers, okay? What about Thompson, Eduardo?
Okay. Thompson believes that the students learn more when they have tests. Moreover, he argues that tests decrease practice and instruction time. For students are sometimes exposed the new material that enhances both their creativity and critical thinking.
Very good. So Thompson says that students will actually pay more attention when they know that they're going to be tested. I give an example. What happens if you're if you tell your students, chavos, esto va a venir en el examen? What happens? Right. Everybody quiet. Everybody with their pencils and notebooks ready, paying attention to you like you were God.
Okay.
Right? So, however, he says if we continue doing that, it might take or it might diminish per se their critical thinking. Because if we think about it, students will only memorize the answers instead of understanding them. And we are going to discuss that through this topic. What about Egan? Isaac, you're here? No. Yes? Maybe? I don't know.
I'm here.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Egan.
Es que tengo que desconectar los audífonos para poder escuchar, digo, para poder hablar y conectarlos para poder escuchar. A ver.
Egan. Egan.
¿Cuál tengo que leer?
Egan, el último.
El último,
Last.
ok. Egan emphasizes the idea that learners study hard for the classes. They are tested strongly.
Very good. So, again, if the students know they're going to be tested, they will study more, right? What about Hiles? Carla.
Hiles considers that students want and expect to be tested.
Okay, now from your viewpoint, Carla, do you agree with this? When you were a student, did you want to be tested?
At first, no, because I was afraid of fail. But after that, I saw that it was good to be tested so I can know how was my improving. Well, how did I improve?
Yes, this is true. Your students may say, no, teacher, no nos gustan los exámenes. But deep in the end, deep inside, they want to be tested. I'll give you an example. What happens if, have you heard, let me explain. Have you heard comments from students about Barco teacher? You know Barco teacher, right? The one that never evaluates, never does anything. At the beginning, like Carla said, students are happy. But what happens next, Gabi?
Thanks, teachers. They don't know what's their progress. That's right. That's right. We need to be tested.
And moreover, the students will at the end hate the teacher. Because
could be.
Yeah, because they will feel blah on their classes. Right?
Yeah.
Very good. What is a downside in testing? Yes, this is Carla too.
Oh, come on.
Can you read this, the first point, Eduardo?
Okay. Too much of testing can entirely change the student's attitude. towards learning the language, especially if the results are usually dissatisfying, for their motivation is decreased towards learning and the subject in general.
Thank you. So it means that if you keep testing them, which is not totally incorrect, we're going to see today some strategies for evaluation, but if you keep, in other words, colloquially speaking, if you keep pushing them, they will wear off. And they will be dissatisfied, lack of motivation, and therefore, and consequently, they will not speak English. Okay, very important. What about Alderson, Carla?
Alderson then mentions that we should not forget that students, while doing a test, should receive less support from the teacher than they normally do during the exercises in a language classroom.
This is obvious, right? Less support from less support from the teacher for the exercises in the exam than in the classroom. That's obvious. So, what should we do? Yes, Eduardo.
How much test in a regular course of 6 months? How many tests we should do?
That's a very good question. We're going to discuss that in a moment.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. So the question is, what should teachers do? Well, can you read the first point yourself, Eduardo?
When the teacher is always near and ready to assist, no one is afraid to make a mistake and try to take a chance to do exercises.
Very good. Carla, continue.
However, when writing a test and being left alone to deal with the test activities, the students panic and forget everything they knew before.
All right, so what is the balance? What is the core meaning? Number one, the students should be given confidence.
Okay.
Number two, encouragement is vital in language learning. You know, words like such as good job, well done, do your best, yes you can, I don't know, many one of those catchy phrases, no? And finally, teachers should foster self-reliance. In other words, yes, you can do it, no worries. Yes, you TOEFL, tú te almuerzas el TOEFL, no worries. You go ahead and self-reliance. So this way, I read the last paragraph, we can speak about the tests as a tool to increase motivation rather than something to be afraid of.
Okay, good point.
So then we have changed the whole conversation. Now tests for students, our goal or our aim is our students view our tests as a motivation tool to learn English. It's like, surprise quiz, yay!
Yeah.
You know, things like that is the, I did have some, you will have some unnormal students that will say that, but if you cultivate, and we're gonna see this today in these strategies, you will find that tests are a tool for you, and the students will actually like it, and that's our goal. Okay, very good. So first of all, we need to make a distinction from assessment and evaluation. There are two entirely different. Can you read this, Gabi?
Thanks, teacher. These two terms are entirely different. When we assess our students, we are interested in how much our students have learned. When we evaluate, we are concerned with how the learning process is developing.
Very good. So, two different categories, two different words. Assessment is at the end. Check the sentence. How much and how many, excuse me, how and how much our students have learned in past. You finished the unit, you finished the semester, I don't know, and then you do a final evaluation. This is called assessment. Okay? And the TKT exam is called, this is very important. You will find words evaluation, assessment, make the difference. Assessment is at the end. Where evaluation is in the process. Okay? How is the process being developed? How is my learning process being, imparted? So you can have a judgment. Now let me ask you something. And which one is how do you call it in English? An indicator for preventing or correcting?
Evaluation.
Very good. Thank you, Eduardo. The evaluation is the one that will help you to correct, where assessment is too late. Right. Whatever you have taught is, you taught. Whatever they learned, they learned. Okay? That's important to make the difference. However, very frequently, continue reading, Gabi.
Thanks, teacher. Very frequently, teacher asks the students without taking the aspect of evaluation into account.
Very good. Don't be like the Kool-Aid teacher, no? Así de, I walk into the classroom, I finish the bimestre, semestre, lo que sea, y hasta te dice, ¿no? Pues yo aquí vengo a enseñar, que quiere aprender, que aprenda, el que no, no. Have you seen teachers like that?
Yeah.
Jeez, don't do that. Really, that's very, very bad. And they go and on with the classes, and then the final exam, el que pasó, pasó, y el que no, pues no pasó. No, teachers, don't do that. It's important part, the evaluation for you. Yes, Gaby. I mean, Jesse.
Or the famous, a mí me pagan lo mismo por uno o dos.
Yes, it's very, very bad. Very bad. Basically, let's put it that way. There's not a rule, but basically the assessment is for the students, where evaluation is for the teacher, because it will tell you how and when or what change. Okay? How can we distinguish an assessment from an evaluation? Read the first point, Carla.
There are assessments that are typically applied at the end of the unit, course, or school year. Such assessments are known as achievement tests.
Okay, continue.
They are very essential for comparing how the student's knowledge has changed during the course.
Very good. So, at the end, unit, the school year, whatever. Evaluations, on the contrary, Eduardo?
Okay, evaluations, in the other hand, are small tests the teachers using during the course or studying year. They are also called diagnostic tests. After analyzing the results of these tests, the teacher will be able to improve or alter the course and even introduce various innovations. Oh, wow.
Thank you. So this is important. Again, assessment is for the students. It's like a tutor of mine said, it's a recognition for the student for his new knowledge. Where evaluation is for the teacher, it's for the teacher to know what to change.
Okay.
Parenthesis, teacher, never assume. Never assume students know. If you argue students, any questions? ¿Qué dicen los alumnos? No. Understand? Yes.
Yes,
That's
yes.
not an evaluation. That's
Evaluations.
never assume, right? So in order to incorporate evaluation with assessment, continue reading, Gabby.
Thanks, teacher. In order to incorporate evaluation together with assessment, teachers should involve students directly into the process of testing.
Example?
Example, before testing vocabulary, the teacher can ask students to guess what kind of activities could be applied in the test. That way, they will know what to wait for and will reduce a fear the students might face.
Very good. So, as much as you can, as much as you can, because students are abusive sometimes.
Yeah.
As much as you can, involve your students into the decision making of what to test or what vocabulary or what activities or I don't know what type of exercises they would like. And this is a reason for it. When the students are involved in that, the students will feel motivated to do the evaluation or the assessment. Again, teachers, as much as you can. I have had groups, entire groups, that had to be a dictator.
Yeah, yeah, of course.
You know, I'm sorry. It is what it is. It's acabó. Because you have mainly because you will have like 2, 3, or maybe 4 leaders, and those guys take the whole group. So as much as you can. Okay, we're going to talk about parentheses. I forget to tell you this at the beginning. This is the ideal situation.
Yeah.
This is the utopic situation.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah,
have to
agree.
determine, use your judgment. I know, Eduardo, we have seen this many times. Anyways. So what is the ideal situation again? Eduardo.
The test should test what was taught. Excuse me. The test should test what was taught. Students are very different, and so is their level of knowledge. Continuing with the
Yes,
reading.
please.
Okay. It's inappropriate to design a test of advanced level if among your learners there are those whose level hardly exceeds lower intermediate. Wow.
So Eduardo read, the test should tell what was taught. And Eduardo said, duh, it's obvious. But let me tell you something, teachers. I've seen teachers all over my years and experience that they have exams of topics or vocabulary that they haven't seen in class.
Wow. Sure. It's very bad.
Yeah, and some of them have even done it on purpose. Ahorita me los voy a agarrar, ahorita me van a... Or they choose topics that they were ambiguous in classroom.
Oop. Oop.
You know? And they do it on purpose. So no, don't do that. That is para empezar es mala copa, mala leche de entrada. And secondly, it's a matter of let's put it this way: you shouldn't be a teacher if you do that. Simple as that. Okay, so you shouldn't be a teacher if you do that. You need to care for your students. Here there's an example here that you need to check their students' level. No, yes, Gabi.
Thanks, teacher. A professional teacher would would not do it because there are some teachers or a lot of teachers do that.
Yes, a professional shouldn't do it. A colleague teacher doesn't. Right? Okay, good. Very important, Carla.
The instructions of the test should be unambiguous.
Unambiguous. In other
Unambiguous.
words, the instruction should be clear. And this is very important. Otherwise, ya sabes el clásico, Miss, ¿y aquí qué va? Miss, ¿y qué pongo aquí? Miss, ¿y qué dice aquí? Continue reading, Carla.
Otherwise, students will spend more time on asking the teacher to explain what they are supposed to do instead of completing the tasks.
So what could be an ambiguous? It could be unambiguous. For example, you have the test and then you write question number 4. Look at the following sentences and then decide whether it is the correct word and the space in blank. Unlike question 4, complete the sentence. One is ambiguous, one is like too many words. It's ya de por sí están nerviosos los chamacos. Now with many words. So simpler the better. Wait. There you go. Read this, Jessica, please.
Otherwise, is that one, right?
The once, yes.
Teacher?
Once.
Once students are able, otherwise, once. I lost. Hello, do you hear?
It's cutting off.
Do you hear me?
No, it's cutting off. It's
Oh, I can hear you. Otherwise, right?
No. The next one.
Okay. Otherwise, students will.
No. Next
Okay,
one,
got
Jessica.
got it. Once the students are able. Ya me perdí, teacher. When
once the
testing,
students are able. Lo que pasa es que se está
Okay.
cortando, hija.
I was reading that. Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah, but very badly.
Okay. Once students are able to apply. Oh,
Yes, now we can hear you.
okay. You hear me?
Yes. Just kidding.
Okay. Okay. When the students are able to apply their knowledge in various contexts, they'll have in turn acquired the new material correctly.
Huh?
Continue.
Yes.
When testing, we need to learn about the students' progress, but not to check what they remember.
Very good. In other
Thank
words, the exam, it shouldn't be like, ahora sí va la mía. No, it's not to check if they going to pass or not. It's more like we need to make sure that the students are acquiring the new language, right? Let's talk about, let's now see some strategies. Characteristics of a good test. Teachers, again, is the ideal situation. Is the top situation. As much as you can, adapt these characteristics into your local circumstances. Like, for example, I don't have, no one is teaching in public schools, right? Gabi, is a private or public school? I really don't remember.
Excuse me, is for me the question?
Yes, are you teaching in a private or a public school? Don't remember.
A private.
Private school. Okay, so no one is teaching in a public school. For example, our dear teachers from the SEP system, they don't have any of this. Their regulations are not regulated. Okay, so but yeah, so if as much as you can adapt this into your local circumstances. Number one, validity. Remind these words in bold. These words are in the TKT, the validity of an examination. Validity. What is the validity, Carla?
A test is valid if it tests what it is supposed to test.
And again, Carla says, duh, obviously. Yes, but I've seen teachers that they don't do that. For reals. Ahora sí va la mía. Vamos a ver qué nos toca. No, don't do that. Eduardo, continue, next point.
Thus, it is not valid, for example, to test writing ability with an essay question that requires a specialist knowledge of history or biology, unless all the students share this knowledge.
Once, thank you, Eduardo. Once I had an advanced group in Tec de Monterrey many years ago. Advanced level. Advanced level in Tec de Monterrey is really advanced. They really have good level. So I asked them to do an essay about the evolution of insects. Por eso siempre lo saco, because I remember that it's something that I made a mistake. The evolution of insects. ¿Por qué? Porque se me ocurrió. ¿Por qué? Porque lo vi en la mañana, lo escuché en las noticias, llegué, okay guys, for today's evaluation is an essay of 600 words, evaluation of insects. ¿Qué creen que pusieron? When the Donald Duck visited Mickey Mouse and Disney and saw a bug and insects and the...
What?
The essays were really good. Now, I mean, as far as English, you know, grammar and punctuation and so forth. But was it valid for me to grade bad these essays? Paréntesis, estos eran humanidades, o sea, contadores, eran de la área de humanidades, o sea, no eran biológicos. So was it valid for me to say, no, this is incorrect because you didn't do what I asked you to do? No. I learned it the hard way. I put an X, me llevaron al coordinador, pues es que me preguntó esto, pero yo no sabía, pero aquí está, evalúenlo, big choro. And at the end of the day, I have to admit, the students were right.
Yes.
I couldn't ask for something that they didn't know.
Right.
Right? So be careful on that. If you have, in other words, if I had students in that time that were biologists or you know, the specialized knowledge about the evolution of insects, well then it was valid for me to grade incorrect or correct.
Right.
But because if they didn't, I only had to make sure that, you know, the grammar and punctuation and conjugations and so forth. So continue reading, Carla.
Thus, it is not valid, for example, to test writing ability.
Okay, we did that. If you were paying attention, we know that we read that. Is the next one.
Sorry. It is very difficult to design a proper test with a good validity. Nevertheless, it is essential for the teacher to know and understand what validity really is.
Good. So even though valid or validity is difficult, it's a must. It's the number one good characteristics. Excuse me. So what are the validity and specific? Let's talk about where. Construct validity. Again, construct validity. Read it, Gabby.
Thanks, teacher. It is the theoretical ground on which the test is based. In order to construct or plan a test, teachers should research into students' behavior and mental organization, appropriately constructed, and the beginning, the test will not provoke any difficulties in this administration and scoring later.
Very good. Check this out. First, the construction of the exam or the construct validity is how it's grounded or what are the foundations. For that, you need to know your students' interests, your students' behavior. It says here mental organization. I like to say student social status. It does affect, believe me. Okay, so once you have researched your students' family, your students' interests, your students' even social status, then you will start founding your examinations. It's very different, teachers, and I know Eduardo is here. I know for a fact that he knows this because he teaches in a public, or used to teach in a public university. It's very, very different to teach a student from a public institution than a private institution.
Yeah, very different.
It's a whole different area, the whole different world. Okay, so those are your foundations. How are the students' status, family, interests, local circumstances? I give you an example. I had an exam about many years ago about traveling into, I don't know if era Mumbai or Bombay or one of those exotic beaches. It was a reading and then transcribe, and well, it was an exam. But I was teaching in a very low status, you know, I'm not saying in a very diminishing way or insulting way. I'm just saying my students were not used to travel. So it wouldn't be valid for me to grade an exam like that. Okay, so the foundations first, the construction of your exam is based on your students' local circumstances. Then the next step is the content validity. Read this, Gabby. Oh, Susana, are you here? Manifest. No, creo que Susana no está aquí. Go, Gabby, read it.
Oh, man.
Thanks again, teacher. To test students' knowledge, teachers have to show what was thought, whether it was a specific vocabulary or various texts connected with the topic. For it's impossible to test the whole material. The teacher should not pick up tricky pieces that were either mentioned or were not discussed in the classroom at all, so belonging to the topic.
Ah, very interesting. Now we're getting something. It says that teachers, they choose what to taught. Yes or no? Okay, yeah, you know, yes. However, the teacher shouldn't pick or shouldn't select those pieces that were ambiguous in the classroom, because otherwise your exam would not be valid. because it's not what is supposed to taught or, you know, to test, excuse me. 3 points or 3 premises. Number 1 premise, Eduardo. The test is?
The test is not a punishment or an opportunity for the teacher to show students that they are less clever. Clever could be both.
Clever.
Both construct and content validity are closely bound and sometimes even overlap with each other. Content validity is closely connected with a definite item that was taught and is supposed to be tested.
Very good. Number 1 premise. The test is not a punishment. The test es ahora va la mía. Ahora sí van a ver. Se creían muy salsa, a ver si qué tal tus tacos. Don't do that. And I know Eduardo is laughing because we have seen and listened to teachers saying that, yes or no?
Yes, I agree. Right, you're right.
En the teacher's room ahí en Roque, ahorita vamos a agarrarnos a los de... sí, me acuerdo.
Some of them, not
No, not you, obviously. I'm just saying. Some of them, que para qué decimos nombres, ¿verdad? Pero some of them. And then construct and content validity, they overlap each other. And what does this mean? If once you know your students' local circumstances, then you start building your examination, yes or no?
Right.
Okay, so the content of the examination should be based on the local circumstances. That's why they overlap or they go hand to hand.
Okay.
That's what it means. You cannot make an exam without knowing your students' interests and vice versa.
Okay.
Good. Face validity. What time is it? Yes. Face validity. Can you read this? Who's here? Jesse, can you try once? Yeah, face validity.
Okay, face validity. Is it how the examiners and administration staff see the test, whether it is construct and content valid or not?
Continue.
Includes debates and discussions about a test. It will involve the teachers' cooperation and exchange of their ideas and experience.
Very good. So the face validity, or another book says the layout of the examination is how the examinees or the students see the exam and how the administration see the exam. Okay. In other words, it is acceptable for the student, according to the staff, it's acceptable for local circumstances, multiple choice, it's open questions. I mean, it's the layout or how the exam is written per se. It says here that it involves exchanging ideas. Well, yeah, that it's okay, but that doesn't really happen. The English Academy, unless you have a good coordinator, otherwise it's very difficult to manage. But if you have a buddy, if you have a friend, like we have here in the classroom, ask and say, "Oye," for example, I give you an example. I know Eduardo and Carla are working for me now, you know, in my school. So, oye, tengo nivel C3, acaba este examen, ¿cómo lo ves? ¿Qué opinas?
Okay.
That's what it means. Is the layout of the examination. Okay.
Okay.
Again, these are the ideal situation.
Yeah.
Okay. Backwatch validity. It's continue reading. Carla.
Backwatch validity. Backwash is the effect, repercussion of testing on teaching and learning process. It could be both positive and negative.
Good. So this is the result of the validity. Could be negative or positive. Let's talk about the negative and the positive. Yes, we have time. Yes, Eduardo.
Backwash is like repercussion or something like that.
Yeah, it's
Validity.
backwash is the well, it literally means that something splashes back, no?
Oh, okay, okay,
So
thank you.
It's the result or something per se.
Yeah, yeah, thank you.
Mm-hmm. So characteristics. Okay, excuse me. What are the negative or the positive? Read the first point, Eduardo.
If the test is considered to be a significant element, then the preparation it will take up most of the time, and other teaching and learning activities will be ignored.
Very good. I give you an example. The ones that we have taught in primaria, secundarias, en prepas. El famoso enlace exam. Who remembers that? Nobody?
Okay.
Who did that enlace exam? Nobody? From the SEP? ¿No? ¿Alguien lo hizo, Carla? It was from your time. Sí, lo hiciste varias veces, ¿no? Me imagino.
Sí, sí, lo hice.
Good. So, tell me how much time or how many classes did you miss in order to prepare for the famous or the infamous enlace exam?
I don't remember, but I think like 4 or 5 classes. Like,
Exactly. Thank you, Carla. That's the first point. If the school, the teacher, or the institution, or the program, or in this case, an enlace, the government gave too much importance for an exam, other topics, other vocabulary, other classes will be ignored. Because I'll tell you, Carla, these 3 or 4 classes that you missed, you didn't recover it, eh? They were missed.
Yeah.
Okay. There are smaller examples. For example, yo le digo a Eduardo, ¿sabes qué? Prepárate un open class. Voy a invitar a papás para que sea lo más chido. Y de la clase de C1 para ventas.
Yeah.
Entonces Eduardo dice, pues a todo dar. Digo, Eduardo es an experienced teacher, but still, he prepares, he does activities, and he rehearsals.
Right.
O sea, he practices with his students, y entonces las demás clases, pues bye-bye.
Right.
So no, as much as you can, and the topic that you may live in, don't give too much importance to an examination that doesn't deserve it. Okay?
Okay.
I'll give you another example, and this is, everybody knows it, or Jessica, I'm sure Jessica knows it. The infamous spelling bee.
Yeah.
How many classes
You miss,
Jesse,
yeah.
did you miss preparing your students for the infamous spelling bee?
Yeah, many.
See, that's the point. So you can't, that would be that at the end of the day, the spelling bee is an examination, right? It's, it's an assessment. At the end of the day, we gave them too much importance to that, and then we ignore the other program. Now, what is the negative? What is the negative backwash? The negative backwash is that while Eduardo, Carla, Jesse are preparing for the infamous spelling bee, they missed 5 classes, 10 classes, and then they have to cover it. So they just read the exam. The classes, a ver, chavos, complete these pages and blah, blah, blah. y entonces lo pones en el examen, ¿qué va a pasar? Students will not know because you didn't see it or you saw it very fast. That is the negative backwash. Yes, Eduardo.
What is your suggestion about how many rehearsals we have to do for a public class or whatever?
Open
2,
class.
3?
Bueno, my experience or my viewpoint is 5 or 6, but not in the class.
Oh, okay.
That is the point. Okay. Pero Eduardo, this is a topic.
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah.
And I gave you the example of open class because it's where the schools sell.
Right.
So they're going to make you rehearse, and they don't care if you miss 5 or 10 classes. So if you know, now parenthesis, if you know that you're going to miss 5 topics and then you're going to do them or review them very fast, for the love of God, teachers, don't put it in the exam.
Right. Oh, good suggestion. Yeah.
Don't put it in the exam because that's a negative backwash. It's a negative repercussion. Y entonces van a decir los alumnos, pues esto no venía, mis.
Yeah.
O a lo mejor no dicen nada, pero de 10, 8 o 7.
Right.
So don't do that, right? So, I mean, find the balance. Don't be the Kool-Aid teacher. Pues es que así lo vimos. The famous. I had a very interesting conversation once. I was a coordinator in a school, not my school, different school, and one teacher had like 20 students and 19 failed. Y entonces así de, ¿por qué, mis? Pues es que usted me puso al spelling bee y yo perdí muchas clases y le digo, okay, I understand that. And what happened to those classes? Pues nada más los dejé de tarea. Okay, you shouldn't have done that, but that's okay, I understand. And why, my question is, why in the love of God did you do your exam based on those 10 classes? She couldn't answer. Don't do that. If you miss classes, you miss classes, period.
Okay.
Right? What is a positive backwash? The end says there can be a positive backwash. Can you read it, Carla?
There can be a positive backwash. That paragraph?
Yes.
As well, if the course is designed to make students pass a certain exam. Teaching should correspond to the demands of the test. The problem is that teachers are not always supplied with the appropriate material for the test preparation. Instead, they are just given vague instructions and are free to act on their own.
Again, this never happens, right? So, in other words, a positive backwash is that you have given all the tools for the evaluation or the examination where students know what they're going to be in the exam, that the exam is valid, and you're given all the supplies and all the tools to do it. Utopic version. But if you have that, then the students will actually feel more positive and passing the exam. I'll give you an example of that. ¿Quién se acuerda de las preguntas de rescate? ¿Quién ha hecho preguntas de rescate en un examen? A ver, Carla, you were a student just not too long ago. You had examinations with teachers that had rescue questions?
Yes, sometimes.
Yeah, like, okay, no sé, Pregunta 11 de Rescue Question. ¿Cómo se llamaba el amigo de Batman?
Some teachers do that.
Okay, you know why they do that?
No.
Because they, for some reason, I'm not satanizing the teachers, for some
Okay.
reason, maybe out of their hands, they didn't cover the topics.
Right.
Or they didn't cover the topics thoroughly because of I don't know, spelling bee, because of que ya el maestro de español tuvo curso de oratoria, se llevó tus alumnos, etcétera,
Right.
etcétera,
Right.
etcétera. So they need points in order to pass the exam. That's what they do. That's fine, because it's out of their hand. Something that they just can, you're humans. Y lo pa' colmo, tu coordinador te pide que termines el programa.
Yeah, all the time.
But that's a whole different story. Okay, good. Hey. So, criterion related validity. We're going to stop here for a PP break.
Thank you.
And it's 11:25. So 11:40.
Yeah, it sounds good for me.
All right, cool. So 11:40, see you here, guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hey guys. Lady, yeah. Yeah, lady. Lady, yeah. How you doing? Sorry about that. Let's continue. So we were talking about the validity, right? And we have the criterion related validity. What is the criterion or the criteria? The criteria of an examination. What is the criteria? What is a synonym of the criteria? Cuando tu profe te decía, Carla, oye, la criteria de evaluación es, ¿lo llegaste a escuchar?
Como lo que se iban a basar para calificar.
Very good. The percentages. What is 20% this, 30% this, or the criteria. So the same happens with the characteristics of a good test. The criteria or the criterion related validity. Read it, Carla, please.
Criterion related validity. It is connected with criterion and evaluation the teacher uses to assess the test. Thus, the teacher has to design a definite evaluation system and then explain what she thinks is worth evaluating and why. This way, students will be aware of what they are expected to do.
Very good. You have a puck?
Yes, yes, I have.
Es inconfundible, mira.
Yeah, he's sleeping. That's why he's snoring.
Yeah, snoring, yeah. So mine is sleep with us in the room. Oh, me parece orquesta. That's good. Okay, so the criterion validity has to do with whether the student or whether the examinee will know what to be graded. Let's talk about it. Oh, wait. In other words, the students must know, very important, how you will evaluate them in their specific evaluation or examination. I'll give you an example. I don't know, essay, 40 points. You know, if this de 0 a 100. Questions 1 to 10 or 1 to 5, 35%. I don't know, the percentages of a specific evaluation. Then we move on to reliability. Very interesting one too. Reliability, according to Binom, continue, Eduardo.
Pardon?
Reliability, according to Binom.
A test is reliable if the score obtained by students is the same and will not change if it were applied on various days, either to the same group or two similar groups. Continue.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. So, in other words, if you have level 1 and you do an examination for all level 1 groups, all of them must be in the same average of results. If you have, for example, an exam and you apply it same example, all level ones. You have 5 groups, and then 1 aced, and then 4 aced, and then 1 failed, the whole group. So then something is incorrect either in the examination or in the group, correct? So an exam is reliable if all the participants get the same score or the average score, and it doesn't differentiate from other examinations. Continue reading, Eduardo.
Okay, thus, a reliable test will contain well-formulated tasks and not indefinite questions. The test will always present ready examples at the beginning of each task to clarify what should be done.
Very good. So, number 1 premise, well-formulated questions or exercises, and very clear instruction and an example of an answer or an example of an answered exercise, so the students will know clearly what is supposed to teach. Y ya 7 evitas de Miss, ¿aquí qué era? Miss, en las 5 ¿qué va? Right? Continue reading, Eduardo.
Reliability also depends on the people who mark the test, the scorers. Example, could be teachers that are more demanding than others, or even a teacher who has a personal attitude towards a particular student. Oh, these factors will also impact on the final score. Last but not least, careless students who lack patience don't bother to double check the instructions before doing the task. This is another important factor that affects reliability in tests.
Very good. Very important, the scorers. Two factors. Number 1, the teacher that has a personal attitude towards one specific student. Ahora sí va la mía. Ahora sí. A que ver cómo nos toca. That never happens, right, Eduardo?
Never.
So, or the careless students that they lack of patience. A mí me ha tocado así de, a ver, Juanito Pérez, ya revisaste tu examen porque le faltaban 5. Sí, ya, profe, pero revísalo otra vez. Pues ya terminé. Revísalo. No, ya sí que se quede. Have you had students like that? Are you a student like that? You know, everybody has seen it, or I was one of those when I was in the school. I hated exams, and I was like, muchos dijeron, te falta uno. Ya, sí, déjenlo. Una no es ninguna. So it does, in fact, impacts the score or the reliability of a specific test. To summarize, we can say that even though validity and reliability are good qualities of a good test, they're not enough to ensure its success. So the premises. Number 1 premise, Carla.
The test should be practical.
Simple as that. A test should be practical. Remember that the construct validity. Remember that you need to know your student's background, your student's interests, your student's knowledge. So that exam should be practical or according to that. Okay? Not too elaborated.
Right.
The students don't need choro. You're not doing, there are some exams. Uno que hice yo hace, like 10 years ago. It's a certification from College Board. You know that College Board? No, College Board es el Ceneval gringo.
Oh, okay.
And I'm supposed to be certified. I'm a certified teacher for Central America. So if I go to Peru or Guatemala, I can teach English. But it was 7-hour long exam.
What?
So yes, or 6 hours plus the intermission. But anyways, that's a whole different story. You don't do that in the classroom. So make it simple, make it practical.
Yeah.
Don't complicate things. All right. Number 2 is the Gabi.
Thanks, teacher. It should be easily understood by the student.
Very good. Very important idea, clear ideas, an example of the beginning of each exercise, something that is understood. Very important, teachers. Vocabulary, use vocabulary according to their level.
Yeah.
Might be very obvious, but I've seen teachers that don't do that. They wanted to make it like very, fancy.
Oh.
And then they come out with words that I don't even know. So don't make it simple according to their level. The next one is ¿quién está aquí? Carla?
It should be easily scored and administered.
Very good. What are the percentages? What are the points? If you can, if you can, make it simple. Otherwise, your social life and weekends will disappear.
Okay.
And I said as much as you can, because if you work for an institution, well, then you're forced to follow the percentages, right? But and a score should be easy to score and to apply. Next one, Eduardo.
It should not last for eternity.
Very important. Sometimes teachers want to make it like so fancy that they make it too long. No need, the students don't need choro. Next one, Gabi.
Thanks, teacher. It should encourage students rather than make reassure their own abilities.
Very good. In other words, it should encourage them for their strong parts, strong abilities for their students. The last one, Penaliz, Carla.
It should measure what it is supposed to measure, so it shouldn't go beyond students' abilities.
Simple as that. Simple as that. Don't go beyond students' abilities. Even though you have one nerd, because you have your favorite student that is the nerd, right? He does everything on time, goes always on the top of the class, and don't do that. I mean, just only one.
Yeah.
Make an exam for everybody.
Yeah.
Very important, and this is one of my personal favorite parts of this class. Can you read it, Carla?
The test will be a true indicator of whether the learning process and the teacher's work is effective or not.
Check this premise. This premise is so strong. It doesn't say that the test will tell you if a student is stupid or not. It doesn't say that. The test is an indicator if your job is going good or not. If you're teaching correctly or not. You have a group of 20, you apply an exam, 15 fail, whose fault is it?
Yeah. Teacher.
No questions, no otherwise, teacher's fault. You have 20, maybe three or four fail, well, okay, they're stupid. But if the majority fail, it's your job. That's why teachers' evaluations are very important. Your evaluation, no assessment. Remember, assessment is at the end, too late. Whether they learn or not is not your problem. For an evaluation, every week, maybe, you can know if your class is going well or not. Who remembers lesson planning, the class of lesson planning? You remember that? It says that you need to do a planning, and then one of the last part of your planning is always an evaluation, remember? In the consolidation, you will do an evaluation in every class, parentheses. No need to be a written exam, no need to be formal thing, maybe a conversation task, an evaluation for you to see if the students got the point of what you taught in that specific class. They don't even need to know that it's an evaluation. You just pay attention to their progress. Okay, and then according to institutions, for example, in my school is every 3 months, but maybe in Gavi's is every 2 months, I mean 1 month. That will be your indicator if they learned. Every week, design your own evaluation for you to see if your students got the point or not. Okay, so far so good?
So far, so good.
Very good. Type of tests. We talk about the good test. Now we're going to talk about the type of test. What test will we have? So there are 4 traditional categories. Ojo, categories, okay? They're in between or inside this category, there might be different layouts, different names, but there's 4 that is the main categories known. Placement tests, diagnostic tests, progress or achievement tests, and finally, proficiency tests. What are those? Okay, let's discuss each one of them. Placement test, can you read this, Carla?
According to Longman Dictionary, a placement test is a test that places students at the appropriate level in a course.
Simple as that. A placement test is, I want to know if you are the right candidate for the course. If it's an English class, well, then you will have a placement test that will tell you if you're basic or intermediate, or stupid or basic or advanced. If you are a candidate for, let's say, a Cambridge test, like such as, I don't know, let's say, so for yes, okay. Or for example, first certificate, you will have a placement test if you have the level. So what are the characteristics of a placement test? Parentheses, we're going to go fast because normally the program comes with a placement test. You don't need to make it. But it's good to know what are the characteristics. Number 1, it should be general and purely focused on a vast range of topics of the language, not just one. So it's a very enhanced exam, many topics. Next one, Gabi.
Thanks, teacher. It could be represented in the form of dictations, interviews, grammar, tests, etc.
Very good. For example, in my school, our placement tests are purely oral. It's an interview. Different institutions, different placement tests, no problem. Next one, Carla.
It should deal exactly with the language skills that will be taught during a particular course.
Very good. If, for example, if you're having one of those weird courses, for example, translation course, that will give you a placement test on grammar. if you are to take a course on I don't know, advanced grammar English or literature, you will have a placement test based on art or you know, literature and so forth. And finally, Eduardo.
Each institution will have its own placement test meeting its needs. Some schools ask students to assess themselves as part of the placement process.
Yeah, institution will tell you. Each school that you work for will tell you. Sometimes, for example, in my case, in my school, sometimes and most likely you don't do the evaluation, the placement, as prior to your job. But it's good for you to know the characteristics. Diagnostic tests. Carla?
While placement tests are designed to show how good a student's English is, in order to fit a system of levels, diagnostic tests can be used to expose learners' difficulties, gaps in their knowledge, and skills deficiencies during a course.
Very good. So, placement test is good to tell you what a candidate language or a skill has, right?
Yep.
And a diagnostic test is used to know a specific part of that strength or weakness of a student. I'll give you an example. You are a candidate to take a TOEFL course. So I personally will have you do a practice test for a placement to see what is your score. And then I go and I check and I see, okay, ¿sabes qué? Te falta grammar. So I do a diagnostic test on grammar and so forth. Carla, the next one, continue.
Very often, teachers don't put any marks for this type of test, and sometimes they don't even show the test to students. This is done to avoid a negative impact on students' motivation.
Again, you will have an evaluation that is only for you.
Okay.
You will check where there are mistakes and then you correct it. Continue reading, Carla.
Okay.
The results of the diagnostic test will give significant information to teachers about the group he/she is going to work with, as well as a basis for the forming syllabus.
Very good, excellent. So also it will tell you, teacher, how is the entire group doing for the program. Excuse me. Muy bien. Now we're going to the type of tests. The progress achievement tests. The progress test, can you read it, Eduardo?
The progress test. A progress test will show the teacher whether the students have learned the recently taught material successfully. It will basically display the activities based on the material the teacher is determined to check. Therefore, the teacher intends to check certain items, not general topics covered during the course. Okay. Typically, such tests do not affect the student's final grade at the end of the course.
Very good. So a progress test, it will tell you what they have learned recently. Okay. Not general and cover, not general topics, but certain specific topics that you want to assess or that have learned recently.
Okay.
For example, you teach present continuous Monday to Friday or Monday to Thursday. Ya sabes, present continuous affirmative, present continuous negative, blah, 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 blah. Thursday. What do you do on Friday? Most likely. Or you will do a progress test, an evaluation to see about not the whole area, not the whole English class, but just present continuous.
Present continuous, okay.
To see if they got that point in particular or not. Okay. What about achievement test? Well, Carla?
Achievement test. It is a test which measures a language someone has learned during a specific course, study, or program. They are more formal and will only work if they contain item types which the students are familiar with. They should reinforce the learning that has taken place, not go out of their way to expose weaknesses.
Very good. So achievement test is at the end. This is the last one. It's not corrective. It's just, it is what it is. Right? And a formal, it has to do with something that they're familiar with. But even though they expose their weaknesses, in other words, they failed the exam, you can't do anything because it's at the end. So most likely the assessment is for them as a recognition of their knowledge. And finally, the infamous proficiency tests. They measure how much of a language person knows or have learned. Hold on a second. Wait a second. They're knocking on my door. Sorry. Sorry about that, Amazon. Okay, so the infamous proficiency tests. They measure how much a person knows about something. What are the characteristics? Number one, Eduardo?
They are rather long.
Continue.
Okay, thank you. They are intended to check the learner's language competence. These tests could make the prospect depressed and exhausted after spending a long time in the classroom. On the other hand, proficiency tests are rather impartial. They are not prospect friendly.
They are not friendly. Proficiency tests are, like TOEFL, TOEIC, all of the Cambridge suite. It's main suite. They're proficiency tests. Okay.
Okay.
They recognize, or they're made to recognize your abilities. They're not friendly. Right before the pandemic, I did. I have CAE. CAE is el penúltimo nivel de Cambridge. So I wanted to do el último, que es Cambridge Proficiency Test de English or something. No lo pasé, pero ese no es el punto. El punto es de que era como 3 horas y it was bad for your self-esteem. O sea, neta, así de, pues yo creí que hablaba inglés. No, for real, I had to go. It was in Mexico City. I had to go. It was the school, and around the corner there was a Starbucks, right? Around the corner. So I said, well, I do my exam. I go take drink some coffee after the exam, and then I drive back to Irapuato. Okay, so that was my plan. Guys, I couldn't find the Starbucks.
What?
I was so worn out in my mind that I was like, I got lost. Like not for long, like 10, 15 minutes. For 10, 15 minutes, I was lost in space. So yes, proficiency tests are not rather friendly. They're just for you to get a certification. That's it. No more than that. Happily, TKT is easier. And I will give you all my resources, and most likely I will apply the exam to you, so it's even easier. Okay. Okay, so far so good? Okay, so now let's talk about the items in the tests. We check the type of test, the characteristics, and now what type of questions do we have in a certain exam. No, deja eso. Dime example. Deja eso. Sorry about that. They're my children. Te pasas, lady, te pasas. Okay. So, read this, Gabi.
Thanks, teacher. Type of test items. A major factor in the success or failure is an exam or text will be determined by the items types that it contains.
Very important. It's a major factor, the type of exercises in the exam, to make it practical or not practical, to make it easy or difficult, and so forth. So we're going to start with direct and indirect items. What is the direct, Carla?
A test item is direct if it asks students to perform the communicative skill which is being tested.
Example?
Example, if the aim of the test is to check listening comprehension, students will be given a test that will check their listening skills, such as listening to the audio and doing the reproduction activities.
Very good. So the direct testing, the first premise is that it tests direct to the specific thing that you want to test. Example, if it's a listening, you will play an audio. Okay. If it's grammar, you will give them not a reading for sentences or structures.
Structures.
If it's writing, you will ask to write, so something direct. And the skill that you want to reinforce or practice. Second premise, Carla.
Introduces real-life language through authentic tasks. Example, role plays, summarizing the general idea, providing missing information, etc.
Very good. So you will have authentic tasks, real English, something that is applicable to the skill. Finally, Carla.
Give us precise information about students' abilities. Example, when writing an essay, the teacher might be interested in checking a particular skill only, such as producing the right layout of an essay or just grammar usage.
Very good. So you will tell them what you're going to be grading. Example, write an essay of 400 words about your last weekend. Parentheses, be careful to write correct verbs and past. That's direct testing. I'm telling you what I'm going to grade in a direct way, per se. Listen to the following audio and write the verbs in past as direct to. Very good. What about indirect now, Eduardo?
Indirect testing, on the other hand, measures a skill through some other skill. Indirect items try to find out about the student's knowledge through more controlled items, okay? Example, multiple choice questions or grammar transformation items. They are easier to design and easier to grade, producing more reliability.
Very good. So indirect testing will test according to a different skill. Example, write an essay and I will check grammar, but also check adjectives. Or multiple choice question, you can check the type of writing. I don't know, many things. Continue, Eduardo.
They are
No, next one.
discrete point testing is meant to test particular language item, grammar, vocabulary, pronunciation, or spelling. Example, choosing the correct tense of a verb.
Very good. Excellent. Continue to the end.
Integrative testing intends to check several language skills simultaneously. Example, writing a composition or doing a conversational oral test.
Very good. So discrete and integrative means that you're going to have a whole essay, and in the essay you will check the grammar, you will check the spelling, you will check the layout, if it's academic, if it's ¿cómo es? No es informal, es bueno, informal writing, academic writing, business writing, and so forth.
Okay.
So you will check everything simultaneously, and it's not direct. You give an order, a command, they do it, and then you check. Okay. What are the items like that? The number one indirect item in an examination is the MCQs, or the multiple choice questions. What are the characteristics? Number one, Gaby.
Thanks, teacher. Easy to read and to read by computers.
Continue.
Very difficult to write well, especially when designing incorrect choices. Both their validity and reliability are suspect. For the score would depend on the student's ability to dominate MCQS techniques rather than her understanding of the language.
Very good. Multiple choice questions are the favorite of the teachers because they're easy to read, no? 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's it. But it's very difficult. If you have to write it, it's very difficult because you need to make all the questions make similar. Normally they're done for you, so it's easier. However, the reliability is not really reliable because the students design their own techniques. Ya sabes, no ini, mini, mani, mo. Ave María, dame puntería. 1, 2, 3, 4, B, C, D, A, C, D, D. For example, I'll give you an example. If you take a TOEFL exam, if you answer the TOEFL exam just randomly, o sea, así como va, obtienen 390 puntos. So it's not really reliable, you know. Por eso te dicen, pues si es MCQ, pues termínalo ahí, escógele igual de una, le atinas. It's the easiest, but it's the least reliable of the examinations.
Okay, okay.
Right? Another form of indirect testing is the closed test or gut feeling tests. Close comes from the word closure and meant the individual's ability to complete a model. There are two closed test techniques. Read the one that it says pseudo-random, Carla.
Pseudo-random involves partial or a total deletion of random words at a defined range. Example, every seventh word.
So you have a paragraph and then you delete every seventh word. It doesn't matter if it's a noun, if it's an adverb, if it's a verb, you just delete it and then they have to complete it. Or rational close technique or gut feeling, Eduardo.
Okay, it's based on the deletion of words connected with the topic the teacher wants to check. Example, present tense of be.
Very good. In other words, you have a paragraph and then you delete the adjectives. And then you will tell them complete the paragraph with the correct adjective. So it's the same. It's the same fill in the gap, but one is randomly and the other one is rational.
Okay.
All right. For homework, complete that one. That's very interesting. The thing is that we're running out of time. Okay. Transformation of phrase and phrase. Gabi.
Thanks, teacher. It's meant to ask students to rewrite sentences in a slightly different form, retaining the exact meaning of the original. Example, I'm sorry that I didn't get her an anniversary present.
Answer that. Who wants to answer that one?
I wish I had, excuse me.
Oh, go ahead, Gabi.
Go ahead.
Okay, I wish I have given you the present.
Yeah,
Anniversary,
okay.
yeah.
Very good. A sentence reordering, Carla.
Getting students to put words in the right order to make appropriate sentences tells us quite a lot about their knowledge of syntax and lexicogrammatical elements. Example, put the words in order to make correct sentences.
Try to answer that one, Carla.
Okay. I'm sorry, I wasn't. I'm sorry, I wasn't in when you called.
Very good. Excellent. Very, very good. And there are other like choosing the right word, choosing the correct tense, reordering the paragraphs, but at the end it's the same principle. So, direct test item types. For direct test item to achieve validity and to be reliable, the designer needs to do the following. Number one, Carla.
Create a level playing field. Choose topics that come close to ensure to all candidates have the same chance of success. Example, why was the discovery of DNA so important for the science of the 20th century?
Very good. If you ask them this question to write an essay, what is the discovery of DNA? It's because everybody knows the answer. That's what it means. Whatever you're going to test, everybody must know it. All the factors, all the information. Or the same question, why was the discovery of DNA so important for the science in the 20th century? Parentheses. I'm looking for past conjugations.
Okay.
Entonces ya le dijiste que pues no importa que pongas. Just make sure that your conjugations and past are correctly written.
Okay.
Okay, that is called a level playing field or a common denominator. Replicate real life interaction. Tests of reading and listening should refer real life, even when they're not authentic. Let's talk about speaking item types. Eduardo.
An interviewer questioning a candidate about themselves, decision-making activities such as showing prior candidates photos of people in order to come up with a specific opinion about them, using pictures to compare and contrast role play activities.
Very good. All of this we know, right? What about written item types, Gabi?
Thanks, teacher. Writing composition and stories, a set of instruction to some common task, newspaper article about a recent event.
Very good. Reading item types, Carla?
Multiple choice questions to test comprehension of a text, choosing the best summary of a paragraph or a whole text, and inserting sentences provided by the examiner in the correct place in the text.
Very good. Listening item types, Eduardo?
Completing charts with facts and figures from a listening test, identifying which pictures are being described in a conversation, identifying which of 2 or 3 speakers says what, following directions on a map.
I hated those. Not the map, but what are they saying? Okay, listen to Pablo, and what does Kerry answer? You see the, I forget names.
Oh, okay.
That's me. I mean, it's a valid question. Personally, I have a problem with names. ¿Cómo se llamaba? ¿Cómo se llamaba? All right. For homework. Yes, for homework. Wait a minute. Yes, for homework, please take out an exam that you have made or you have applied. Right? For example, in the case of Carla, she's been a student recently. I'm sure you have some exams on your own, I mean, in your files. Take one, and then you're going to check if if it's a good test, if it complies with all the characteristics, direct, indirect, what type of exercises are, if it was it valid, not valid, etc. And then you're going to present it next class. So as a conclusion, for summarize, it says, assess the test situation, take into account context in which the test take place. What are your local circumstances, teachers? What are your students' needs, students' interests? How much time should be given? Remember, it's not for eternity. Where will it take place? Is in the classroom and Zoom and Google Meet? How much time there is for checking it? Very important. And you know why? Because you are important. If you want to make it too long, too fancy, Saturday and Sundays, you will disappear. Y a lo mejor Carla dice, yo soy soltera, ¿hay qué? Pues bla, bla, bla. Pues sí. ¿Cómo vas a llegar el lunes? Yeah. And then we generate a whole different problem. So make it practical. Decide what to test. What skills are we intending to evaluate? If it's speaking, it's reading. What syllables can be genuinely included? Or what topics can be included? What kind of topics and situations are appropriate for students? It's very different to do an exam for teenagers than adults. For adults and college students.
Yeah.
So what are the topics, or what is the appropriate topics for your local students? Balance the elements. How much of indirect and indirect testing are they going to include? If it's only multiple choice because it's the easiest, well, yes, but it's the worst. Because students may actually pass the exam with not knowing the content.
Okay. Yeah.
Right? Weight the scores. How many points will be given to each section of the test? What is your criteria? What is the percentages? And then making the test work. It is absolutely vital that we try out the design test on colleagues and the students alike before applying them to real candidates. Again, this is a topic, this is the ideal situation. In a school that I work for, en de Academia de Inglés, ya sabes, la infamous Academia de Inglés, nos pasábamos los exámenes. Pues para hacerlo. Ya después generamos otros problemas, but that's a whole different story. In principle, it was okay for you to know the layout, but well, it was human beings, right? All right, very good. So, what is homework, Carla?
Look for an exam that we have made or have applied and check if they contain all the characteristics that we saw.
Very good. Excellent. Okay, so nobody sent me the homework for last week. Did you do it? Oh, okay. Take a picture and send it to me. The transcription of the phonetics. Okay. All right. Let's take a selfie for today. 1, 2. All right. I'll send it to you in a moment. Thank you very much. Yes, Eduardo.
How many classes I missed?
Oh, it's like 3, but no
Okay.
worries because it's a recycling program.
Okay. Okay. Thank
So
you.
no worries not.
Thank you.
No problemo. Okay. Well, thank you very much. I know it was a long topic, but that's okay. I mean, it's an interesting topic. Do homework. Send me your homework from last week, and then we'll check it out. Okay. Thank you very much. See you around.